Mr. Gray, great friend of the family, legendary broadcaster. How are you today?
I'm great, Amir.
I'm glad you're here.
Looking forward to seeing it.
Yes, good
Should
friend
be
of the
fun. Here we go again.
Here we go again. You were at my dad's, so many of my dad's iconic moments, from the Holyfield fight after that to the Lou Savarese fight when he said he wanted to eat Lennox Lewis's children. What's your favorite, most memorable moment of my dad in the ring or even out, just in general?
My favorite moment is when I met your dad before he was heavyweight champion. He was in a restaurant called Metteo's, right here in Los Angeles.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he met my dad.
Okay.
And I think your dad was 18 or 19 years old at the time.
Wow.
It was before he was champion. And he came over and sat down at the table with us for about 15 or 20 minutes. My dad's name was Jerry.
Okay.
And unfortunately, he died about 7 years ago. And every time I saw Mike, every single time, no matter whether it was in the ring, out of the ring, training, unless we were on the air, first things he would say to me, "How's your dad, Jerry?"
Yeah.
So
that
just always touched me in such a way, that it was beyond boxing, it was beyond fighting. And then to see the meteoric rise and become the heavyweight champion of the world, the youngest man to ever do that, and then to have been able to broadcast so many of his fights on Showtime and seen so many of his fights before, having worked at ESPN when he was fighting on HBO, it was just it's been a joy, and it's been a roller coaster ride.
Yeah,
and there's been a lot of ups and a lot of downs, but boy, has it been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Would you, last year this time, it was 2019, November 28th, would you expect my dad to ever be in the ring again? Did you ever see this coming?
No, but I mean, look, so much has changed. So, everybody has, had to struggle with the loss of life with COVID. And we've seen how it's, devastated so many families, not only here in this country, but around the world. And we've all known people who are affected by it, have the virus or are struggling with the virus. In fact, Joe Cortez called me and your dad this week.
Oh, the referee?
We were on the phone, and he's struggling bad.
Wow.
And Mike got on and told him to fight. He always said, "I'm fair, but I'm firm," and now he's fighting it.
Yeah.
And he called to say goodbye. And he just called me a half an hour ago, and he said, "You tell Mike I'm still fighting." And it started to clear up a little bit, so I got a little hope now. But so it changed everybody's, frame of reference. So your father decided he was going to get in shape, and he was going to, see where it went. Lost 100 pounds, and now here we are. So, I mean, had there not been this virus, we probably wouldn't be sitting here.
100%. 100%. It's just like, it's such a unique year. Something's happening every month, and everyone's talking about this is the most positive thing of 2020 so far. Like, everyone's excited. What's your prediction?
Well, it's hard to predict. I mean, last time I spoke to your father in the ring, he said, "I don't have this anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not that ferocious guy. I don't have that animal instinct anymore."
Right.
If I'm quoting it right, I believe that's what he said.
Yeah, I believe so.
Against Kevin McBride. And he just said, "I just don't have it anymore. I'm doing this to pay bills, feed my family, and I don't have that in me anymore." So I think he probably has it in him now. He likes how he looks.
Yeah.
Your dad got that ego back now.
Yeah, he got it back.
He's got a little bit of that, look at me, I look good, I'm feeling good, I can hit somebody, and so we'll see how it is when somebody hits him.
Right.
I would predict your dad. That's not taking away anything from Roy Jones Jr.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's been a spectacular fighter. We have more of a frame of reference because he's fought, much more recently, just a couple of years ago. So we've seen what it is, and unfortunately for Roy, he's been one of these guys who's, he stayed around too long.
Yeah.
He stuck around too long. Your father recognized it. And this is an exhibition, so let's have some fun. What we've seen is athletes can compete much longer. We have Tom Brady winning a Super Bowl. Okay, he's now playing at 43 years of age. All right? We now see LeBron James just won a championship, considered by NBA standards an old guy, all right, but great shape.
Yeah.
So now we got a 54-year-old man who wants to fight a 51-year-old man. Let's have some fun. Let's see what happens. I mean, I know one thing.
Yeah.
I'm not a fighter, and I've never been hit, but I wouldn't want to be hit by your dad.
Never, ever. I want to talk to you about your book, Talking with Goats. And
Talking to Goats.
Talking to Goats. And you're talking to Kobe, Tom Brady, LeBron James, my father, Ali. And I want to know, how did you start your relationship with Ali? How did that start?
By the way, your dad's the first chapter.
He's the first chapter.
First chapter, yeah.
Awesome.
So, I was a videotape editor and a sports intern at a station in Denver, and Ali was getting ready to fight Leon Spinks.
Right.
And then he was going to fight a man by the name of Lyle Alzado in an exhibition. Not too dissimilar to this. Lyle Alzado was a big defensive end for the Denver Broncos, number 77.
Oh, okay.
Later went on to play with the Raiders. Had a great career. Unfortunately, passed away. So they were going to have those two fights, and he came to town, and he was 2.5 hours early at the airport, and I was the only one in the station.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, Amir, there was no cell phones. There was no beepers.
Wow.
If somebody didn't answer their home phone at 7:15 in the morning, you couldn't find them. Wow. So they couldn't find the news anchor. They couldn't find the sports anchor. They couldn't find any reporters. So they came running into the sports intern, who's a videotape editor, 18 years old. Go run out to the airport and interview Ali. So I did.
Wow.
I'd never done an interview before in my life. So after the first question, Ali looked at me just like I'm looking at me. You're doing this interview?
Oh.
And a whole entourage, all of them laughed.
Yeah.
They were all there.
You probably said it in a nice, funny
It
way.
made me laugh because it was funny.
Yeah.
He wasn't making fun of me. He was asking a question and it was funny. And it loosened me up, so it took all the nerves away. And then after the third question, he said, "You sound like the local Howard Cosell." And Howard was obviously the big sportscaster of our time. And he made, so many interviews with Ali that were, became famous, the two of them. They were a great duo. So when he said that to me, it was like the greatest compliment I'd ever heard. Anyway, he gave me 45 minutes. I took myself out of the interview because they weren't going to put me on television. So I edited myself out, and the head of the station walked in and he said, "Wow," and he watched it for an hour and a half, and he looked at it and he said, "You and this videotape are putting you on the air. We're putting you on the air.
Wow.
It's barely adequate."
Wow.
So I tell everybody I've been barely adequate ever since. In fact, that's what I told your dad when he inducted me into the Hall of Fame a couple of years ago.
That's
said,
awesome.
Been barely adequate ever since, Mike. Barely adequate ended up here.
I would say the Cosell relationship with Ali is like your relationship with my dad. Like after the interviews, it's like close relationship. You could talk to him, you could ask him questions, and you wouldn't be afraid of his answer. Cosell could ask Ali, he wouldn't, because you guys have a personal relationship. And
I'm flattered when people say that.
Yeah.
You don't know how good that makes me feel when people say that, because I look so up to not only Ali but Howard Cosell.
Yeah.
So when people make that comparison, it's very humbling. It hits me in a real soft spot.
Awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
It's the truth, man. What, so I see you have Tiger, Kobe. Can you talk about Kobe since he met his demise this year? Can you tell me any memory you have with him?
You walk into this building, it's still sad across the street. And I knew Kobe since he was an infant. I used to be a scout for the San Diego Clippers, and his dad, Jelly Bean Joe Bryant, played on the team. So I remember Kobe literally being in Mother Pam's arms, and knew him his whole time growing up. Obviously, Lower Merion High School, and then on being drafted by Charlotte and traded in that same breath to the Lakers on that day.
Right.
And so we became, very friendly out here. Kobe permitted me to interview him 100 times plus, and we just had a very close and good relationship. And he was myopic in his vision of wanting to win and pursuit of excellence.
Mm-hmm.
I loved him professionally. Was very fond of him, loved him personally. We did all kinds of events together, and just that whole thing is just I still grieve his loss and feel for Vanessa and his 3 children, and Joe and Pam, So it's been a tough deal, and the good news is that we have that great memory of him. The bad news is that it shouldn't be in the rearview mirror. We should still be looking forward to all of the things that he had to give to the world. And I guess we have Girl Dad, and that's a wonderful remembrance of Kobe, and we have all those great highlights of all that he accomplished on the floor. And for those who he touched and the thousands of acts of kindness, we'll be able to carry that with us too.
Right. I remember as a kid just watching him score 81 points in a game, and just like he was my favorite player growing up. So it was just like, it was touching, like not touching, but it was just like I felt it more when I found out the news, because he was my favorite player. I couldn't believe it. But, like you said, you always keep those memories with us, And I see that it was forwarded by Tom Brady.
That's correct.
You have a good relationship with him. Elaborate on that.
Well, been following Tom's career, broadcast his first Super Bowl, broadcast all of his Super Bowls on Westwood One on the radio, and interviewed him hundreds and hundreds of times. We do Monday Night Football together. He does the pregame and halftime for more than a decade. So Tom has been a joy to cover that career. He is a gentle man in all phases of life. He is a kind man. he's obviously he's an incredible super competitor. His will to win and his drive to be great isn't surpassed by anybody. Every detail is combed over. There is nothing too fine that he won't work on. Yet the way he treats people and the way that he has treated me has been nothing short of fantastic. And so people in 30 cities hate him. They still love him in Boston,
Yeah.
I think, and they love him now in Tampa. But every place else hates him. It's not because they know him, because if you know him and you hate this guy, you better take a long look at yourself in that mirror.
Right.
They hate him because they haven't been able to win because he has.
Him.
So he's great. He'll be watching a fight tonight. He's a huge
Yeah.
boxing fan. He pores over it. He studies it. He knows
Yeah.
it. So
I met him before.
he's excited for your dad. Oh, you did?
I met him before with my dad. He's the nicest guy. He was just being extremely, extremely nice. He's a nice man.
He is a nice man. He's
Yeah.
not. There's not a phony bone in that man's body.
No, it was genuine. I could have a good sense that he was genuine. I liked him a lot. You have LeBron, Phelps, and Tiger. Do you have any memorable moments with those three?
All of them.
All of them?
Yeah, that's what it is. Talking to goats.
What's your memorable moment with Tiger? Because he has a documentary tomorrow coming out called America's Son on ESPN, I think. Yeah.
I was one of the first people to interview him when he was 9 years old. It became a very famous Nike commercial. When I grow up, I'm going to win all the majors and beat all the pros.
Oh, when he was a kid?
Yeah. So that was with him and Earl. So I've known Kobe. I've known Tiger since he was just a youngster, and he's always been very professional in what he's done. He brought golf to a height that it never achieved. I mean, he took it from beyond Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus, and made it accessible and available for everybody, for all walks of life. And to have won that 1997 Masters by the largest margin of victory at Augusta National, a record that still holds a margin of victory, and the total had held up until Dustin Johnson beat it last week on a much different circumstance, because they're playing in November where it's wet as opposed to playing in April where it's not.
Right.
So Tiger has made the game of golf so much more popular, and I'm happy that he got over his personal struggles and all of the scandals and everything that he hurt himself and his family the most with. I'm glad that seems to be in his rearview mirror, and it's the greatest comeback ever in the history of individual sports to have gone from 2008 until 2019, not win a major, to suffer all those injuries, all those surgeries, the scandal, the DUI, and everything, and then to come back and win that thing. So the chapter is Tiger Woods, how a legend became human.
Yeah.
Because now he's enjoying and letting others enjoy his success.
Yeah, I was rooting for him, because I hate that, he's a legend. I grew up watching Tiger just like anyone else did. Just as a young kid, I always had, my house in Maryland's right near the golf course, Congressional, where he has a U.S. Open and his old tournaments, like AT&T National.
Yes, sir.
I would have the sign, I'd be like, "Go Tiger, go!" So he was he made a big pop culture impact, even for people my age. And my brother doesn't understand that. He's always just like, "Why does everyone always hype Tiger up?" And it says you had to be there to understand it, but he was too young to really remember at the time. Jim, it's a pleasure interviewing you. It's great talking to you.
Amir,
Yeah.
happy to do it anytime.
Thank you, my man.
Anytime. You got a lot going here.
Thank
I'm
you.
going to give you what Al Davis said to me.
Yeah.
Your greatness is in your future.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in.